Welcome to English Time. In today's lesson, we will first listen to the conversation. After that, we will repeat each and every sentence for better improvement.
What do you use to carry water while hiking? What do you use to carry water while hiking?
I use a water bottle or hydration pack. I use a water bottle or hydration pack.
How do you prepare a fishing rod? How do you prepare a fishing rod?
I use fishing line and a hook. I use fishing line and a hook.
What do you use to catch fish? What do you use to catch fish?
I use a fishing rod and bait. I use a fishing rod and bait.
How do you keep insects away while camping? How do you keep insects away while camping?
I use insect repellent. I use insect repellent.
What do you use to track your steps? What do you use to track your steps?
I use a fitness tracker. I use a fitness tracker.
How do you measure your heart rate? How do you measure your heart rate?
I use a heart rate monitor. I use a heart rate monitor.
What do you use to do yoga? What do you use to do yoga?
I use a yoga mat. I use a yoga mat.
How do you lift weights? How do you lift weights?
I use dumbbells or a barbell. I use dumbbells or a barbell.
What do you use to ride a bike? What do you use to ride a bike?
I use a bicycle and helmet. I use a bicycle and helmet.
How do you keep your bike secure? How do you keep your bike secure?
I use a bike lock. I use a bike lock.
What do you use to repair a flat tire? What do you use to repair a flat tire?
I use a tire repair kit. I use a tire repair kit.
How do you clean your glasses? How do you clean your glasses?
I use a glasses cleaner and microfiber cloth. I use a glasses cleaner and microfiber cloth.
What do you use to open a can? What do you use to open a can?
I use a can opener. I use a can opener.
How do you bake cookies? How do you bake cookies?
I use a baking sheet and oven. I use a baking sheet and oven.
What do you use to frost a cake? What do you use to frost a cake?
I use a spatula and frosting. I use a spatula and frosting.
How do you measure flour? How do you measure flour?
I use a measuring cup. I use a measuring cup.
What do you use to peel vegetables? What do you use to peel vegetables?
I use a vegetable peeler. I use a vegetable peeler.
How do you blend a smoothie? How do you blend a smoothie?
I use a blender. I use a blender.
What do you use to boil pasta? What do you use to boil pasta?
I use a pot. I use a pot.
How do you strain pasta?
I use a colander.
What do you use to play a video game? What do you use to play a video game?
I use a gaming console and controller. I use a gaming console and controller.
How do you watch movies at home? How do you watch movies at home?
I use a TV and a streaming device. I use a TV and a streaming device.
What do you use to connect to the internet? What do you use to connect to the internet?
I use a modem and router. I use a modem and router.
How do you charge a laptop? How do you charge a laptop?
I use a laptop charger. I use a laptop charger.
What do you use to bake a pie? What do you use to bake a pie?
I use a pie dish and oven. I use a pie dish and oven.
How do you mix cake batter? How do you mix cake batter?
I use a mixing bowl and whisk. I use a mixing bowl and whisk.
What do you use to grate cheese? What do you use to grate cheese?
I use a cheese grater. I use a cheese grater.
How do you chop vegetables? How do you chop vegetables?
I use a kitchen knife and cutting board. I use a kitchen knife and cutting board.
What do you use to make tea? What do you use to make tea?
I use a teapot and tea leaves. I use a teapot and tea leaves.
How do you brew coffee? How do you brew coffee?
I use a coffee maker. I use a coffee maker.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content. Hit the bell icon to stay notified. See you in the next one.